Barrister Mbesha, are you there? This is day 6 of the protest, and instead of the protesters to, relax, the protest is gaining momentum instead. What would your thoughts be on this?
Well, my thoughts are very, very encouraging. First and foremost, if we look back in history, a number of years back, what is Tunisian revolt that brought down many governments? It was started by one single hawker who was arrested, his goods were taken, then he hung himself. And that sparked the whole revolt. What is going on now in Nigeria? Nigeria is a very big country. But before we get to Nigeria, you see what has happened in places like Niger, Burkina Faso, and Mali. Niger, Burkina Faso are different countries, and Mali. Combined are not of the size of Nigeria in population. I saw how protests have changed that country, those countries. So are Africans learning something from this? Yes. Why are people protesting, you must ask? People don't go out to protest against what they like. If they are protesting something is wrong, they are angry with. They are angry at something. And so they go out to protest. The most important thing that we take from the Nigerian thing is the size of the protest, which is huge, and the reaction of the government, which is so largely civil. If you try that in Yaoundé, it would kill hundreds of people. But you find, as you rightly put it there, the security people assisting the protesters. If the fire in the air. You find the president coming to address the issues, trying to encourage them, trying to say, look, your complaints are heard, we'll address them. And before that, if we saw what happened in Kenya and what happened in Senegal a few years ago, a few months, not even years ago, you realize that Africans are getting pity. African governments are being forced to know that they are accountable, they should be held accountable by the people over who they rule. And so it is only encouraging. The protests will end. They are not going to be demonstrating all their lives. It will end. It will end somewhere when the government addresses the issues that put people to the street. That's how governments occur all over the world. What protests all over Europe? What protests in the United States? So why should Africans in general be so sensitive to protest? What's the protest? What is the protest? You're standing up there and say we don't like this. That's the simple protest that sparked the war in Amazonia, where thousands have died. Where probably say what protesting for what? And then they started shooting people. That insensitivity must stop. Because leaders are meant to rule over people. They lead people. And if you're so insensitive, like in Cameroon, for example, or somebody tell you, if you say something against the government, you will be deported from Yaoundé. Deported? Because they are not in protest, you're just saying something. And so we can only hope that what is going on in Nigeria, because Nigeria is so symbolic. The conditions in Nigeria are inexplicable. Given the size of the country, one, given the level of education of Nigerians, that is true. These are not people that you can put in the box. But why have they endured all this nonsense for so many years? Why have they endured them? Because of repressive governments. And they seem to have been accustomed to that. We were talking about, in our own case, we were talking about debt piling at the Aziri Junction. Remember that a number of years ago, there was this Niger Delta thing, where you could find oil spilling there. The companies drilling the oil nobody held them accountable. Why should this happen?
From that
Why
one.
should the fuel be so expensive in Nigeria when they are shipping the fuel underground to neighboring countries? It's a very large oil producing country and gas. So the people have to vent their anger because those governments, if they must be governments, they are governments for the people. And they are in principle put there by the people. And therefore they should be accountable to them. So I can only encourage our fellow neighbors, Nigerians, that in Ambazonia, as we know it, protests to be allowed. If you don't want to allow protests, make sure you don't let the public make public demands. Satisfy them. If I were in Bamenda and there was a protest, we would protest and go and drive away that mayor from that town. So fix this road or you're out of here. Because that's your function as the mayor of the town.
In a process where the people wanted to be addressed and they were addressed, but they feel that the address was empty. So, what else would you expect that the people do at this point? Because they are back to the streets after being addressed by their head of state.
Now, it's often, just like we talked about the human rights violations, often the demonstrations that are organized, they have leadership. Not everybody in the street carrying a placard is in the leadership. The government will not talk with that guy standing in the streets with the placard. The government will force to talk with the leadership where they make compromises. When that leadership comes out and say, okay, we've gotten somewhere, brothers and sisters, let's go back home and see what happens in 6 months, in 3 months, or tomorrow, they will listen. The president can address them a million times. If he's not talking with the leadership of the organizers, he's not going to go anywhere because the guys who call the strikes will not call them off just because the president has spoken to the population. The same thing with Amazonia. He can do everything he wants. The government of Kano will be forced to talk with the leadership of Amazonia. Because, for example, as you just said, there was something there on Ghost Town. Ghost Town did not just descend from the moon. They descended from the government. Only the government can call off the ghost towns. And so shooting people down, catching people in the street and saying they should go and open their shops, it's not going to stop until the government learns to talk to the people who call ghost towns. Because it's a form of protest. You must talk to them. Only they can say, if, for example, we say, ghost town stop tomorrow. They will stop. Like today, I think they've called for another ghost town tomorrow. It will be effective. And so it's not the people standing in the street who are important. They have a structure, they have a leadership that reviews everything. When the president is speaking there to the public, they have the information with them. They have said, look, this is not satisfactory. Let us not stop. Maybe we were asking for a 20. They're all giving 5. We will not stop until we have 10 or 20, things like that. So let us not worry. The thing will not stop or will not continue just because we find that young man with a placard with his T-shirt on. We will stop when that government, whether it is in Cameroon, whether it is in Nigeria, whether it is anywhere in the world, when the government talks to the leadership, the organizers, they have structures in place. That's what happens in modern society. Over to you.
All right, thank you so much. That's what happens in modern society. The challenge here is some of the leaders have refused to accept that the world is getting to the modern stage where they have to act right. Well, Barrister Mbesha, it's at this point that I would let you go. Thank you so much for being part of Tonight Undaunted. We'll definitely have you back.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
All right.